Love them, hate them, despise them, doesn't really matter. Miami's always going to be a talked about team in college football, and for good reason. Their ratings go through the roof, their fan base cares, and they're ravenous as all hell on social media, and they always seem to be at the subject of conversation in a positive and more recently negative light. But if you haven't been paying attention to this past spring cycle when it comes to the transfer portal, Miami, they're portaling like a school that knows they can win an ACC title. They already brought in the brand new quarterback in Cam Ward. They just upgraded their running back room with Damien Martinez from Oregon State. And now they might have added in a premier number 2 wide receiver in Samuel Brown from Houston. So what exactly does Brown bring to this offense? And why is Miami starting to feel like a team that actually can meet the lofty expectations in 2024. Let's go on and discuss, but if you're new here, welcome on into the channel. My name is Cole Thompson. Make sure that you like, comment, and hit subscribe down below. Give me your thoughts on Miami. Am I once again putting the wagon before the horse and not believing that this is going to be a year of optimism, or can Coral Gables have a complacent team in 2024? Tell your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, best of bros, ACC fans, college football aficionados, and the Miami faithful everywhere about this channel, because we're on the race to not only become the #1 YouTube show talking about our favorite sport, but also talking about our favorite team and building the #1 community in all of college football. Make sure that also you're following me on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, at Mr. Cole Thompson. And if you want a question read live on air, slide in the DMs or email me at colethompsonwriting@gmail.com. Sam Brown's an interesting subject matter. So you lose Colby Young this offseason to Georgia, but you still have Xavier Renfro. You still feel good about the passing attack. And this was a team that last year averaged around, 7.8 yards per play. You're upgrading a quarterback. You feel a lot more complacent when it comes to number 1 as the new #1 option in the passing game. But you always want to have a complete number 2. And in fact, when you look right now at teams that actually can compete for college football playoffs, there's 2 things that you want to have on offense: stability in the run game and a complementary secondary weapon. And sometimes that can come in the form of a tight end. Sometimes that can come at a wide receiver. That can come with a pass-catching running back, but you need that number 2 piece. And to me, Samuel Brown fits that because if he's already been a complete number 2 receiver. First season at Houston, 471 yards. If I'm not mistaken, he was right behind now Texas Longhorns wide receiver Matthew Golden. Last year, took that step forward, proved that he could be his own X factor and a legit top target. Over 50 catches, 875 receiving yards, 815 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, average 13.5 yards per play. Really good number for what you want at the intermediate part of the field. And a lot of people are probably saying, well, how can you imagine that this guy who's already transferred twice, went from West Virginia to Houston, can go find success with Shannon Dawson's offense? That's the key word, Shannon Dawson. Because Shannon Dawson, before he was Miami's offense coordinator, was Houston's. And this was a guy that was able to get him to come from Morgantown down to H-Town and become a fixture of his offense. And you saw the positivity at times late in the year when they were still in the American Athletic Conference. Dana Holgorsen had no idea what he was doing in the Big 12. And he never seemed to really fit the mold, but at least you knew you had a complimentary wide receiver to go alongside Matthew Golden and who took over the team. And so now you get to have that secondary role. You get to have another playmaker that's going to open up the passing attack and keep defenses on their toes. Because it's one thing to now add in a running back like Damien Martinez. And hopefully he'll end up panning out. He gets to live up to the hype. And he'll pair well with Mark Fletcher whenever he gets back healthy. But you get to do the same thing with Xavier Renfro. You don't have to worry about one guy always being open. You can have a secondary option. You can have another playmaker that creates separation. You can have another playmaker that works the middle of the field. And defenses are going to be on their toes because you can't just say, well, now we just got to worry about Cam Ward. No, you got to worry about the rushing attack. Well, you can't just go ahead and load the box and take out Damien Martinez. All you're going to do is create one-on-one matchups where if Brown's open, he's going to the bank. If Renfro's open, he's running it seamlessly for 6. That's what you have. And so when I look at Miami, again, this was the culmination. I know Hurricane fans. I understand that they have wanted to see their team get back to the national relevancy the way that we talk about them. It's like Notre Dame fans. Notre Dame fans every single year have to deal with the negativity about not playing in a conference, yet they go 10-2, they go 11-1, they have good numbers, and then people say, well, they don't deserve it. It's the same thing. Like Miami and Notre Dame fans have to be some of the more outrageously outlandish, but also loyal fan bases in college football. And to me, we always overhype Notre Dame and we always overhype Miami, but then there's years that we actually have to talk about them in a prominent light, and this is one. I don't think Mario Cristobal was coming back just to take over a program and turn it around in one instance. I think you want to establish a culture. I think you want to establish a baseline and a recruiting trail to where he's not only getting good players, he's getting the right players, the players that are going to be prominent in helping the Hurricanes reach new heights, get back to Charlotte, be a contender in the ACC, and fight for college football playoff spots. And then going into year 3, this is where you start swinging in the transfer portal. You have a baseline of recruiting. You know areas where you're going to get successful playmakers. You know areas where you can get the right offensive linemen, good execution. Now it's about adding in those last pieces that are going to elevate your team. And a guy like Brown is one of those playmakers. He gets the understanding of Dawson's offense. He gets what it's like to play a complementary role. He knows what it's like to be in a dynamic air raid attack that does rely a lot on the rushing attack. There's a lot of positivity with Miami. And then you look at their schedule. And their schedule to me is really interesting because of all you have to do is get to October 26th. You get to October 26th, you can coast. You can lose a game. In a 12-team playoff, even though the ACC and the Big 12 are going to be kind of outliers when it comes to national relevancy compared to the SEC and the Big 10, they still can have high representation, especially if it's a school like Miami that is going to do wonders for the ratings and the 10-2 record. You can lose a game. You can lose to a Louisville or a Cal or a Virginia Tech. You could do that. And as long as you walk out of Miami Garden Stadium, as long as you walk out of Hard Rock with a win over Florida State, you close out the year with Syracuse, who has no head coach, Georgia Tech, which is still kind of rebuilding, Wake Forest, which lost a ton of talent, and Syracuse with a brand new coaching staff. You could easily get to 11-1. And the way that this roster is constructed, the way that they've made attentive moves when it comes to NIL, when it comes to the transfer portal, when it comes to the recruiting ranks, the fact that you've had all this lined up in the last several years, this is where I think it's led to. I've been high on this Miami team going into 2024 for the last 2 seasons. And I've called it multiple times. I've said there's going to be a breakout team every single year. So far, I've been right. Last year, I called Texas. This year, I'm hell-bent on it being Miami. I thought the year before, it was going to be... Sorry about that. Year before, I thought it was going to be not TCU. I believed it was going to be Michigan. I thought they were going to go undefeated that year. So I truly believe that there is something special going on in Coral Gables in South Florida. And in large part, it's because of what Mario's done. Adding in Sam Brown, I think, only adds that next element to your passing attack, and it only adds one more thing to make you that much more formidable when it comes to winning a national championship. I don't know if the Hurricanes can, but I can tell you this. If you're not buying stock in them simply because of what we know about Miami of the past, we'll start living in the present, because this present version of Miami, on paper, can win an ACC title. And if you win an ACC title, you know you're going to do the dozen dance. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Leave your thoughts down below. What does Sam Brown bring to this offense along with Cam Ward and Damien Martinez? Is Miami on the come up? Are they nothing more? Make sure that also you're following me on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you see fit. And make sure you tell your friends, family, mortal enemies, best of bros, and Miami fans everywhere about this channel, because we're on the race to not only become one of the #1 college football shows, but also be the #1 college football community. I'm Cole Thompson. Until next time, folks. Later.